Hi, Old Fuzz Face here. Today, we're going to talk about grain mills, why to get one, and why to use one. But let's start with a little honesty. I'm not a professional baker. In fact, I'm not even much of an amateur baker. But I sure do like a good loaf of crusty bread, and I finally learned how to make one. 2, I don't have all that much experience milling my own grain, not like those good folks you see on some of the other channels. And 3rd, I'm not going to sell you something. I just want to let you know where I've been with grain mills and what lessons I've learned. Okay, I've told you the truth about me and grain mills. Now I'm going to tell you the best reason I know for getting one. I'm a practical man, and I've learned that when I mill my own wheat, I can make a good loaf of crusty bread. It's tastier than store-bought, and it's more nutritious. Now, I ask you, could there be any better reason than that? In a little while, you'll see me introducing 3 different grain mills I own. You'll hear me say that this is the first in the series of 3 videos. Well, since I said that, I've decided to just produce 1 video instead of 3. That will save both you and me a lot of time. If you like what you see and you want to see more, or if you have questions that go deeper into the information I present here, I'll be glad to make more videos about grain mills. Just let me know. Since I'm trying to level with you, let me be upfront and ask you to subscribe to my channel and like this video. So let's look at my 3 grain mills. I call them the good, the bad, and the ugly. Then we can talk about what lessons I've learned since I bought my first grain mill about 13 years ago. Hi there again. A little while ago I explained to you what we were going to do. This is the first in a 3-part series on, well, what do we want to call them? Grain mills. There are other names for them. And I'm not going to talk about every grain mill that's out there. I'm not going to try to sell one to you. I don't have any sponsors. It's nothing like that. I just want to show you what I did as a practical man and sometimes as a not so practical man. So we'll be talking about 3 grain mills: the good, the bad, but not really so bad, and the ugly, but I've grown to like it. This one right here is manual. It takes a little while to work with it, and it is a steel burr that grinds up the wheat. The only difference between this one and this one is this is also steel burr, but now we can say that it's automatic or it's electric. It has a motor which will drive it. They're pretty much the same. The big difference is when we move over here, a stone mill. This is not the top of the line, but it's more than good enough for what we do here at Serendipity Farmhouse. So I'll be doing a little test. I'm going to be taking each one of these mills and I'm going to mill 1 cup of flour. And as my standard for 1 cup, I'm using 125 grams of wheat berries. In this case, it's going to be hard white wheat. And then afterwards, we'll determine how long it takes, and then we'll also compare what the mill wheat looks like. Okay, let's go for the test in just a little while. Well, you just met the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now it's time to give you just a bit of technical detail. For my purpose here, there are 3 types of grain mills made for home use. The first type is what we call a steel burr grain mill. It uses steel burrs to grind grains, allowing for an adjustable coarseness. They are efficient and can handle various types of grains, but they can generate a little bit of heat and that could damage your wheat. But that's not often the case. The second type is the stone grain mill. It uses 2 stones to grind grains, resulting in a fine flour with a traditional texture. They can produce a more nutritious flour since they retain the bran and the germ. And then there's finally another type. I don't own one and I haven't used one. They're called impact grain mills. They utilize high-speed blades to grind grains into flour quickly. They are typically lightweight and compact, and they're ideal for quick use. I'm not going to give you a long list of pros and cons on each of these 3 types. I'm sure that you're just as practical as I am, and you're going to do your own research. I recommend that you do just that, because practical folks learn how to watch out for themselves. Another huge consideration when researching grain mills is to determine how the mill is powered. The most reliable grain mill I own is my manual grain mill, the Ugly. It doesn't matter if the electricity is out or you're boondocking in your RV and you want to make some pancakes. That manual grain mill will always give you the flour you need. However, there is a lot to be said for convenience. That's why I own 2 electric grain mills. Both can produce a cup of flour in just a fraction of the time it takes my manual grain mill. Here, let me show you 3 grain mills in action. You'll see what I mean about convenience. All right, it's time to test out the manual mill with the steel burr. I have put in 125 grams of hard white wheat, and now let's see how long it takes to come up with 1 cup of flour. Here we go. I have set this up on the finest setting, which supposedly is good enough to make wheat flour for bread. However, it is a little bit coarse. And the finer that you set it, the harder it is to grind. Go Fuzzy, go Fuzzy, go Fuzzy. Oh. I have my dear chef Blondie is behind the camera today. She's making sure that I don't mess up, but I don't think she's capable of keeping me. I'm not as young as I used to be. Go ahead. There's one of the problems with the ugly one. Now, last night we were making yogurt in our Instant Pot. The electricity went out. I can't. There, okay. And so this morning we had to do some real fast thinking on how to save at 3 a.m. and how to save 1/2 gallon of fresh raw goat milk. The one thing, that's the beautiful part about the Ugly mill here. If the electricity goes out, it'll still work. However, if Fuzzy goes out,
how are you going to bake it? In the sun oven?
In the sun oven.
There. Yay. Good job, Buzz. Need some water?
Okay, there we go. 1 cup of flour, 125 grams of hard white wheat. Okay, I just got back from the cardiologist. I have an upchit. I may live through this next scene here. I'm going to be using the KitchenAid, but the appliance that we have on this for doing the milling is not made by KitchenAid. It's made in China, and the quality is not the best. Only last week did I find out that this is not recommended for milling flour for bread. However, we've used it for about a year, and we were able to make some quite good bread. So I call it the bad. I don't recommend this particular one. The KitchenAid device, which costs about 3 times more, is actually high quality. And I would recommend that if this is the way that you want to have your solution for milling wheat. Now, a couple things about this. First of all, this wobbles. Next, when I pour in the grain, the berries, they will start flying out, especially when it gets to a low setting or when it gets down low in the tube. So I have to put a towel over the top. We found that out one of the very first times we were milling wheat with it. So, and the other thing is that you have to start this before you put in the berries. So I'm going to put this up to the highest setting, which is 10. Now, oh, the berries are popping up now. And there we have it. 1 cup of hard white wheat flour. Now, I'm in much better shape after this, but with some of these gadgets, you have to be careful because they can put a great deal of strain on the motor in the KitchenAid. So you have to be very careful when you purchase these. We've been fortunate. There has been no damage to our machine, but we don't use it except as a last resort. Okay, now we're going to test the Mockmill 100. Once again, we're going to use 125 grams of hard white wheat berries, and we will be coming up with 1 cup of flour for our bread that we're going to make tonight and tomorrow morning. This machine is a little bit quieter, it is more efficient, and it's like many of the others on the market. You do your own good, due diligence, find out what you really need, and then be careful. Research, research, research. Okay, I am set on the finest setting, but you can adjust this internally. If you follow the directions properly, you can get the 2 millstones very close together, and right at a certain fine point, when you have set it up, this number 1 setting will be the finest. If I wanted to mill something like corn, I would then bring this way over here and start on the much higher setting. But I'm going to be doing the wheat berries. So here we go. Once again, you have to start the machine first before you add the berries. So now I will press the on button and we have power. We'll add the wheat berries. Just that fast. And now I think you understand why this is the good, this is the bad, this is the ugly. There it is. The The good grain mill produced a cup of flour in just 43 seconds. The bad grain mill produced a cup of flour in 1 minute and 36 seconds. And that old ugly grain mill took 3 minutes and 51 seconds to produce a cup of flour and also almost produce a cardiac arrest. Now that you've seen them in action, it's time for you to make up your mind if you want to mill your own grain. If you do, hit the internet and start your own research. Be honest with yourself on what you really need versus what you would like to have. If you decide to mill your own grain and make your own bread, remember there are 3 more important points to remember. Keep it simple. Keep it practical. And happy baking.